And here we are in our Revit 6.1. And what we're going to talk about here in this lesson is mirroring this project. So what we have is here, we have some floor plans based on some levels, and I'm just going to double click on here and work our way through some of these floor plans. You can see there's some reference planes, a roof plan here. There's some text and some leader lines and annotation objects. Okay, you can see the site, different crop areas on there. So I'm just showing you that it's a standard floor plan model, very basic house. Okay, the vaulted ceiling and some scissor trusses and stuff in there. Okay, zoom in a little closer just to have a look at it. Okay, go back and do our zoom previous, and there's shortcuts to these commands as well. So floor plans, we've got some elevations down in here. You can tell these are shaded views. If I go in here and I type HL, oh, it's giving me my, do I want to save? And so going through different elevations, SD for shading, HL for hidden view. Okay, and then further down we've got, well, just above we've got our 3D view in here, and we've got our section box turned on, and we can move these grips back and forth and form some nice looking sections in 3D there. And inside of here we've got some regular building sections, flat 2D type sections, which are generated from the section marks that are created in here. And then lastly, down in here we've got some sheets. We've got our first drawing, A101, A102. Okay, so different sheets set up, 11 by 17 sheet with our views, and we might have to go back and do some adjusting in here later after we do our mirror. Okay, so we've got our different sheets down in here. We can see that. Okay, so regular project that's been set up in here, and some various 3D views in here. And all I'm really going to do, there's no magic to it, I'm going to go to each level. I'm going to use my control button. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to go to the next level or floor plan. I'm going to hold my control button in first. You'll get plus symbol on your crosshair. You go through, grab all this information. You might end up grabbing the same information more than once because you can see some of it's highlighted already, because reference planes, for instance, traverse between the different levels if you have them turned on. So I'm going to go to the next one. Control button, click. Now if you've got hundreds of floors, or I should say tens of floors, this might get a little more difficult. Okay, if you switch between your grabbing information on your elevations and your plans, it doesn't work properly that I can see here. I'm just going to roll out a little bit, control button in, grab everything. So now I've highlighted everything. On the upper floor plan, I happen to have drawn just a line, a regular AutoCAD line on this level, and it goes from reference plane to reference plane. And then the midpoint of that would be horizontally the midpoint in here. Therefore, when I go look at my elevations later that are looking at this particular point in space, all my elevations, I'll have to rename them if I choose to, but all my elevations will be proper. If you mirror this object, and I mirror it based on a point over here somewhere, it's going to get mirrored over to here, and then of course you can see there's my elevation marker right there, and there's my other one there. Well, if it goes too far over here, this elevation marker will be looking at nothing. Okay, and this won't be seeing it either, because they all have their limits, which we could stretch it out. But you can see you want to more or less keep it mirrored in the same area and space. Okay, so my mirror command is over here. All I want to do now is zoom in a little bit closer, such as that. And then I go get my mirror command. When I do my mirror, I don't want to use a copy option because I'll have a house on top of a house, so I'm going to take my copy off, and I'm not going to use a pick point because that gives me a reference plane that I want. I want to go and draw a line defining the midpoint. That's why I drew this line in ahead of time. And I'm going to zoom out a bit. I'm looking for my midpoint. There it is. Okay, with the triangle. Click there once. Click, bring it down. basically doing the mirror now as we speak, and you'll see down here in the lower right hand corner that it's processing and creating all those different views. Okay, we do have to go in and do some cleanup after this is done. Okay, sometimes these section marks don't come out right, and any callouts that are drawn in these section marks you'll have troubles with those. But for the most part, the model has been mirrored, and all the text in the floor plans at least will be there, and we'll see we're going to get a warning here. We can read this warning, and it's showing us in here right there highlighted walls overlap and color fills room tag, so it gives you a little bit of information there, and we can go to the next one. So these are just kind of warnings. It's not a showstopper. Slope of shingle may not be parallel. So and then we can go in here, we can expand this dialog box, and then we can always do our cleanup later. So a bit of a warning on some problems. You can see right here, for instance, I notice right away this section mark right here needs to be fixed up because it needs to come all the way over to there. Okay, and this doesn't need to be all the way down to there. I can grab this, pull this up, grab this and pull this up. So a little bit of cleanup right off the bat. Okay, and these section marks show up on all the different levels. Okay, if you choose to turn them on in your visibility, which brings me to another point, is when we did our mirror, which is now complete, we could have gone into here and looked at view and visibility graphics to make sure things are turned on. These are kind of like Revit layers. Okay, so for instance, I know for a fact that I had some, oh no, everything was turned on. So if things are turned off, you won't see them and they won't get mirrored. Okay, if we go into here again, so we want to make sure what we want to be mirrored is checked on, at least for the mirror, and then you can reset them back to the way they were. Okay, so that's just a little bit on visibility. In fact, the mirror is now done, and if we go through, we would have a look at our different elevations in here, and we can see our glazing is now on the right back in here. I'll just slow down a bit, and you can see now the mirror, the glazing has gone from this side over to this side. Okay, similarly, if we go to our main floor plan, we can see there's our glass with our windows, and this is our deck, which you can see there. Just zoom in a little closer. Okay, so that's on the right hand side, and you can see our leader lines and our arrowheads seem to have come across quite nicely. Okay, now we might have to go in, as I've said, and go down to our elevations, okay, and relocate those on our sheets. So let's have a look at our sheets. Okay, lower level. Okay, doesn't look like it shifted too much, but you can see if this building was L-shaped or had an odd shape depending on the shape of your border, that you might have to go in here now and adjust these a little bit. Okay, so there is some cleanup work, and we can go down to here, for instance, have a look at our section. Now sometimes our sections, and this is a 3D section which came through fairly well, we need to maybe expand that that display of that viewport, but certain cases our section may not show up, and we'd have to go back, and we can check on that. Or in fact, what you can do is you can just go to that sheet A110 and go back and grab that section again and bring it back in. Okay, and then you've got your section back, and then you can also go in now and create, if you had a section, section has been placed onto this sheet. Okay, which is a process which is outside of this lesson, but is just a good demonstration how you might have to take this section, drag it back down into this sheet, and then as well, if you would have had, we go to this section and we had a new call out, view, new call out, for instance, that call out wouldn't have come through properly in our mirror as well. So we'd have to recreate that call out, zoom in just a little bit, and then double click on this section bubble. It's going to do a call out of that area from this section, and then within here I can then go back to, for instance, my A110 sheet, double click on it, and go grab that call out, place that onto my sheet. So sometimes you have to rebuild your sheets after you're done. Okay.